And below, Alex. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to Loreweek. I am your host, the Bureaucracy Runner. Oops, we're not up to random news yet. I've been doing the spreadsheet that keeps track of everyone's donations. And it's been very slow, boring going, but it's been going. I'm actually almost done. Thank you very much, Shikor. Very much obliged and appreciate, as always. I will put that towards Deadly Premonition. Just put it in here randomly. And thank you very much, Dragonheart. Much obliged and appreciate. And I will put that towards Halo Wars. What I want to know, Kira Whiteness, is why it took so long. We actually talked about Take-Two over the week, and they're one of the worst, in my opinion. They have done some really messed up things over the years. Where's the damn thing? There it is. What I've been doing here is and this has taken me so long so what I have is I have a spreadsheet, and this spreadsheet has a donation from Ciela, and it shows the amount of money total that's been put towards a run, the number of people that have put interest into a run, the name of the run, which is what goes up on the website, and the specific names of the people who donated for it, as well as the final formula, which tallies up the priority value. Priority being a factor of both number of people and amount of money. Thank you very, very much, Ciela, ever and always. Recently, I have added another thing, which is whether or not it's a run that I'm interested in, because this is the kind of thing that several people have asked for. Bloodborne it is. You got it. So, that's a thing that we added, and thanks to Zilog for helping me to figure out how to, apply that to the website. Zilog and Third, actually. Third set up the system of showing it up on the website. Zilog set up the way of getting it from the spreadsheet to the website. But there's one other factor I've been wanting to keep track of, and for quite some time I've been trying to think of exactly the way to do it, and I couldn't come up with a good method, so we're doing it the really coarse and boring way. Basically, I'm just manually adding numbers after people's names to show how much that individual person has donated, so it's easier to keep track of. Because several times people ask, how much have I donated towards a run? And another thing that'll come up is who the, what I usually mentally refer to as the majority shareholders are. So for example, I could look at Spellforce 3 right now and tell you that for all these people, the person who is probably the majority shareholder is Necktool80, who has put $20 towards that run. Just to name an example there. This also means when I say my thank yous now, I could actually sit down and be like, thank you, blah, 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 and also these people who donate a lot of money, and this person who put the run on the list. So I've added another specific thing I can thank people for. Unfortunately, the way that I've been doing this is I've just been manually going through every donation that I have and jotting it down and adding it to the list. This is why I keep track of this kind of thing, though. Well, it probably doesn't mean anything, Adam. But on the off chance that something needs to happen to a run, like, I don't know, us deciding to push back the run of Hedden, or us deciding to push back the run of Trails of Cold Steel 2, knowing who the majority shareholders are is kind of important because they're the ones who put the most money towards the run. So, and as I mentioned, this is a good way to keep track of who to thank. So that's what my last night and morning have been, is getting caught up on that mess. I have, looks like about 15 more games to go through, but these are all really small ones, so that shouldn't take too long. And for syncing schedules, because every now and again a majority shareholder, like, say, the people who are the majority shareholders in the Tor run, say, hey, can we do this on the 29th of June? And I'm like, sure. And thus it were so. Anywho. There's another thing I've been thinking about show-wise that I want to share with you really quick. So we're coming up pretty close to the point where the floodgates are going to happen. We've only got a couple months left for that. And I've been debating exactly how to do the floodgates this year. So we could do it the same way we've always done it. You know, that's easy. But I've been trying to think of a way in order to get people who are not on Patreon to be part of the floodgates process. And I haven't figured out a way to functionally do that. I'm just kind of opening the question here if anybody has any ideas about how that could be accomplished. Because it's not like a spreadsheet for what exactly? See, the problem here is I don't want to just open up a spreadsheet and say, hey, everyone who watches my show, vote on the next Ruminations. That doesn't... I mean, I guess I could do that? Sort of seems... like, at that point, it's no longer a... You know, thank you for supporting my show. At that point, it's just everyone who happens to roam by and see this random spreadsheet can go ahead and vote on it. Which is a different approach and can lead to some issues, which is why I'm hesitant to do that. And I don't really have a good way of tracking... How do I phrase this? Patreon, it's really easy to get a hold of patrons. There's actually a freaking button that I could just say, here, this post goes live to Patreon. Like the posts that go live on the 5th. Only people who are patrons see that. Bam. Nice, simple, quick, efficient. I don't have a button to reach out to everyone who has ever subbed to me, or who is currently subbed to me, and has donated money through PayPal, and or has donated money through Bits, and or has donated money through DonorBox. I keep track of that stuff manually, but that doesn't mean, like, I could just go over and say, so, you know, Floating Triangles has put $5 towards Fire Emblem 3 Houses Blue Lions run. Okay. So I know Floating Triangles has dumped $5 onto that. I don't really have a method to get a hold of Floating Triangles. You know what I mean? So, yeah. I'm still thinking on that one. What we're most likely going to do is we're just going to keep it on Patreon. Now, that being said, I do want to mention something because this is important. So, did you guys see the Mass Effect 3 Rumination? Just went live last Friday. Proper remake Rumination, obviously. That was voted in. Obviously, that was a Floodgates Rumination. It's also the last Floodgates game Rumination. From now on, all game Ruminations will be done of the post-stream variety. There's actually never going to be a game that's tied in... I should say never. Henceforth, subject to change, there's no plans to ever do a game Rumination in the old style. That is to say, absolutely smashing through the game as quickly as I possibly can during the Floodgates, and then, you know, record the video on it. And I just wanted to mention that, because that's pretty much official at this point. But that also means when we do open the Floodgates, it's going to be movies only, which is something I want to get out there nice in front and overt. So, some of you may or may not have noticed the actual playlist for the Friday Ruminations has actually changed to be named Game and Movie Ruminations to kind of more clearly signify where it is now, since those can come live on days other than Friday, and duh, right? So when we open the Floodgates, there will be 25 slots, and those will be movies only. And actually, as a direct consequence of that, this will probably be one of the shortest floodgates and simplest floodgates we've ever had, because of the nature of the system. Now, that being stated, so obviously game ruminations are still going to happen. It's just they're going to happen post-stream, rather than the floodgates thing. And I just want to make that nice and open and clear, because I still get questions about that. But if you're wondering what it's going to look like having a series of floodgates that are just movies, well, we're in June, and the rest of the year's Friday Ruminations, which were already recorded, are done and all movies. So it's like literally movies until the end of the year. In fact, if I pull up the website here. Because did you know you can see all upcoming illuminations? So yeah, it starts next week is Fistful of Dollars. We're doing the Dollar Trilogy, which I know I had mic problems on, and I don't really have a way to fix that. I'm sorry. And then we're going to hit 2001 Space Odyssey, Spaceballs, Primer, Harry Potter 5, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Mask of the Phantasm, The Iron Giant, many Disney movies, and then the MCU Phase 3. And that's just going to go whoosh. Want to do both? No. One of the entire purposes of removing the video games from the floodgates rumination is to try and make it so that my life is not horrifibad anymore. It has been a constant and horrible source of stress in order to try and slam through a game to the point where I literally don't even remember it after playing it. So again, no. This is something I've been pushing for a while. So... Oh, I'm sorry. I misunderstood your question. Yes, it is Hasbro. That is pretty much exactly correct. Oh, so, okay, so you're talking about just in general. So... They're all recorded, yes. All of those are done. I could die tomorrow, and all those videos will go live until December 25th, which is when Endgame comes out. Ones that I actually thought several of the Disney ones came out really well, particularly Little Mermaid, Lion King. Ironically, I feel like I could have done more on Into the Spider-Verse, but that was just a phenomenal movie, despite my irritations with it. I'm also particularly proud of Infinity War and Endgame. I think I did a good job with both of those. And Primer, which I'm not going to say much about. The Mask of the Phantasm rumination was pretty short, but there's not a lot I can do about that. And you guys are going to hate me when you get to the Iron Giant one. So people have asked about comics several times. Well, I mean, they're all scheduled, Mike Romano. That's how I do it. The TNG and DS9 stuff will also continue going live until that's over, which will be in March of next year. Anyways, comic books. So I've actually been asked that question several times before. And I've never really come up with a good answer to that. Have I ever ruminated a book? I have tried and failed to ruminate on books. That's why books are not allowed. Thank you very much, Mega DA. Very much appreciate the sub, sir. I'll put that towards Plague Tale. You know, it's sad that you have to ask that now, Adam. Because, let's see, I think almost... No, Pocahontas doesn't have a live action. Hunchback of Notre Dame doesn't have a live action. Hercules doesn't have a live action. And Tarzan doesn't have a live action. But at this point, Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Lion King, and Mulan all have live action versions. But anyways. No, Zach Taft. At least not for 2 months. And that's assuming someone suddenly drops $200 on the run. Yeah, I'm leaning towards no with comic books. I'll debate that. We'll kind of call that a case by case. So, we'll debate that, but I'm leaning towards no. Anyways, so Hazardous actually gave a good idea there. It's not a bad one. The idea was allow patrons to nominate and allow everyone to vote. No manga! And allow everyone to vote. I mean, at that point, it might work out. I might try that. The catch, though. How big would the list be? The way we were doing it last year, and this actually system worked very, very well, is you could nominate only one thing. You could vote for two things. You could not vote for the same thing twice. Basically to force people in order to not just say, I want you to do this and then vote for this and have 50 things with one vote for it. Yeah, no kidding, Shadow Machine. I mean, then again, they did do Dumbo. God, I can't believe they did Dumbo. Moving on. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking, Tigzar. So, the catch there is how exactly do we tabulate the votes, Hazardous? Because the way we did it on Patreon was manually. I could just have people manually say, I vote for this, on a patron-only post on Patreon, and then I could tabulate that manually. I'm not 100% sure how I would keep track of that elsewise. Like, I can't just do a poll. I can't just set up a poll and say vote for one thing. And yeah, that's the other problem. The vote site is capped at, I think, 25 options, something like that. And we only have 25 slots, so that at that point I don't think that's going to work. Either way, it's something I'm still thinking about. Like I said, we're opening the floodgates up in about a month and a half at this point, in August. And one way or another, Patreon patrons are still going to be able to nominate and or vote on movies, and no manga, and no books, and no games that can be ruminated on over the coming year. Dakota asked a valid question. What happens if you don't care about movies? I just don't participate at that point. And just keep doing the monthly thing for the games. Because, I mean, if you don't, it makes sense, right? It's like someone walking up to me saying, Lore, choose which of these cups of coffee you should drink. And I'm like, I don't like coffee, right? So, oh God, that's just a nightmare, isn't it, Berenian? No, I'm leaning more and more toward excluding comics. By the way, actually, I didn't dislike The Iron Giant. I just disliked the first 30 minutes of The Iron Giant, Blue of Alex. If you want me to spoil it for you, the first 30 minutes were way, way worse than I remembered. And I was starting to be weirded out by how much I was not enjoying the movie. And then the second act started. And it was just like, oh, right, okay. Weird. Anyways. Yes, exactly right, Raskor. It was basically the first half of the film, excuse me, the first third of the film was basically a Nickelodeon shtick, and that's just not my thing. I mean, podcasts can be awesome, yeah. Sorry, I'm thinking, because again, I've been debating how to do this for some time, and several people have given several suggestions, like Berenian's idea to open up the doors to total chaos. Although you guys do tend to be better than not. Manga tends to actually finish. Fair. That's actually one of the biggest reasons I stopped watching, or following comics, is because I got tired of the stories just kind of, and then, and I got really, really sick of it. My investment level just went away, and I decided, nope. I suppose this is good time as any. Good time as any. And then the universe rebooted, and then. This is a good time as any to mention something. So when we get to the point where we are closer to being done with the My Little Pony streaminations, we're going to be adding. I haven't decided 100% where I'm going to put it yet on the website. I'm actually looking at the website over here. But I'm going to add basically the same type of thing as the stream's priority list for shows. And it's going to be funding for shows. And it's going to be the same basic exact format. Number of people, which shows the color, amount of money put towards it, etc., right? And so it's going to be the exact same format for funding future streaminations. This is basically what we did for the existing streaminations. It's just there's going to be a list on the website like there is with the games. We're not doing that yet. We're only in season 4. We're not even halfway through. But FYI. We are not going to be doing Star Trek the same way. I've been thinking about this off and on, but as of right now, while YouTube is gutter trash, it's not at the point where I think I can safely say that I'm not going to be on YouTube next year. So that means at the very least that I am willing and able to commit to going ahead and just saying, "Fwonk, we're going to go do the TOS and Enterprise ruminations in the same manner that we already have. No plans, sucked out." So that's going to be a thing starting in March. Late March? Actually, it might be starting in April. I don't have my calendar in front of me. I haven't had my calendar in front of me since October. Yeah, exactly. Dakota. There's still purpose in having the YouTube side of things. And again, it's not getting to the point of actually being afraid of being knocked off it right now. So I'm going to go ahead and commit. It's going to be about a 2-year run for Enterprise and TOS, roughly. I've already mathed that out. No, Mike Romano. Here's the thing. So, the Monday, Tuesday... So, I guess this is a good time to talk this out. So that's a good question, Mike Romano. So allow me to make this very clear. The Monday, Tuesday things, that's Star Trek. That's locked in for being Star Trek for at least 5 years. As of now. That's going to be Star Trek going forwards. Any other shows, Farscape, Stargate, Space Above and Beyond, Avatar: The Last Airbender, Clone Wars Season 7, whatever else, right? All of that is going to be slotted into the Streaminations concept. That's going to be Sundays, as where we do our usual Streaminations, and that's going to be the different system. The Star Trek stuff is pretty locked in. I have a fairly large base of not only financial supporters, but general viewers that are there for the Star Trek stuff. So, Monday, Tuesday, that's going to be Star Trek for years. Does that make sense? Yeah, South Park, that I haven't seen, that's another example. But yeah, Monday's going to be TOS and Tuesday's going to be Enterprise. Starting next April, I think. Like I said, I don't have the calendar in front of me. I suppose X-Files would be qualify as well. It's whatever. It's whatever you guys fund. That's how that works. For Streaminations. As long as it's some format that's available. That's kind of the catch, isn't it? That is correct. I was actually debating going ahead and just starting, I guess that would be Enterprise, when DS9 ends. But TNG only drags out, I think it's 3 weeks after the end of DS9. I can actually check that really quick. Give me a second. If you give me a moment here. Switch this over to the first monitor. So the final episode of TNG goes live on March 15th. And the final episode of DS9 goes live on February 23rd. So I was right. 3 weeks of no videos on Tuesday. Now, I suppose I should mention, this is why I was thinking it was going to be April, because after that we're going to do a bit of a wrap-up. And something... No, Adam. There really is not yet. I get that question all the time. My dad asked me that last week. So, oh yeah, there's the X-Men cartoon. That's valid. The final week of March is going to be the follow-through, favorites, least favorites, skip list. I haven't 100% decided when we're going to vote on that. Obviously, we have to vote on that sometime before March, because I have to have time to put together the video and ask you guys questions and have you guys answer them and blah, 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 blah. So at some point prior to... I actually don't like Avatar, SA2K. Sometime prior to next March, there will be a big vote on favorites and least favorites and all that stuff from both DS9 and TNG, and that'll be the final episode of both. And then TOS and Enterprise will start in April, so I was right with my original thing. Oop. I think I might put it on the right side. Like right above upcoming ruminations, because that's going to be deprioritized, right? Since that's just going to be movies for the stuff that's scheduled. Because I have no idea when the other stuff goes live. I was actually asked recently, Lore, why don't you have a decisive schedule for your show? Because I have no idea how long games take. Like, I could roughly estimate how long they take, and then I could be wrong. If you remember, we actually used to have a thing where I would put up on the schedule on the 15th we'll start this game, on the 18th we'll start this game. And I don't know how many of you noticed this, but what would happen is I would finish the previous game, and then I'd adjust the schedule, moving things forward. And then I'd adjust the schedule, moving things backwards. And then I'd finish the game and move things forward and backwards. And it was a complete nonsense because the schedule was constantly changing. That's why we went to just, this is the next game, which is the format we use right now. So, for the curious. Was there something else I wanted to talk about? Pull up my list here. Talked about that. I talked about that. Right. So, let's go ahead and move on. Let's move on from show news. Nobody cares about show news. Let's move on to... this. Good night, Adam. Possibly Shadow Machine. I wouldn't expect anything, though. So, random news. My favorite build? I don't have a favorite build. Depends on the game. Depends on my mood. Timestamp. No, I don't think we need a timestamp. I think we're good because I only got two bits of random news this week. Frostpunk's final DLC came out, which I don't know much about. There it is. And Kingdoms of Amalur has been confirmed to be getting a remaster. We have no details about exactly what it's going to be. That's it. That's the random news. See, I'm being facetious because there's actually one other thing to mention. To be clear, I am actually kind of excited for the Frostpunk DLC. In fact, I have added a DLC run of Frostpunk to my list. The one that's not on the website. You know, the stuff I want to plan to add to the website. No, I have not, Ect, which I probably just indicated. And Kingdoms of Amalur, that's neat. You know, I liked that game. It's got some problems. Yes, it's an FPS, Zach Taft. I don't know, dude. But yeah, so Kingdoms of Amalur, the problem is we don't know what they're doing yet. They say they're doing gameplay changes in addition to graphic changes. I mean, the main plot was kind of but I really liked the world, and I actually rather enjoyed the combat, but the quest design was kind of crap, especially for the faction quests. My opinion, obviously. And it's been a while. So, how much of that can be fixed by a remaster, who knows? It's also within the realm of possibility that it's a remake. To give you an idea of what I mean by that. Have any of you played DuckTales Remastered? It's by WayForward, the Shantae people. DuckTales Remastered is a remake. So it's within the realm of possibility that Kingdom of Amalur Remaster might actually be a remake. Because THQ Nordic. Although it's not actually Nordic doing it, it's a company that they have outsourced. I've noticed this recently, consequently. There's a series of companies that their whole thing is just doing remasters and remakes of older games. Like, that's what they do. And that's their job. Which is actually interesting, but makes perfect sense in its own right, especially if you get a company that's actually good at doing that. I just thought I'd mention that briefly. I don't have much else to say about it. Yeah, Lemon Sky is a good example of that. So... some of you who watched last week's Loreweek are probably like, well, hang on, Lore, I thought you were supposed to have tons and tons of news this week. Yeah, I was. In fact, I made a list. We were supposed to have the EA Play Live. We were supposed to have the Sony State of Play. We were supposed to have the Guerrilla Games Collective. We were supposed to have the Steam Games Festival. We were supposed to have the Night City Wire. And we were supposed to have news about Blizzard Shadowlands. Everything got pushed back. I'm not sure if that was the right call. I was actually thinking about that. I don't want to get into too much controversial stuff. But someone did ask my opinion on something in specific. I do want to mention it. Let's say, for example, Lex Luthor. We'll keep this in fiction land. Let's say Lex Luthor shows up and says, and then he donates $3 million to the Prevent Cancer Foundation or whatever. Does he get points for that? Now, you can decide for yourself. That's why I'm just giving the question. But because I have also been asked that question, my answer is no. It's still good that is being done, and that's cool. You know, good stuff has been done. Awesome. But Lex does not get points for that. I suppose I should have added that he also walked out and, you know, was like, hey guys, I have decided to do this. Nice big public announcement of how charitable he is, how generous he's being. No, I don't think he gets points for that. Good can be done by that, and that's awesome. But he doesn't get credit, my opinion. You probably understand why I'm mentioning that, and why that's relevant this week. But I do have to mention, I feel bad for everyone, because, I mean, obvious, but hear me out for a second. I want you to imagine, I'm trying to remember who did it first. I think it was Sony was the first one to pull the trigger and delay things. The moment anyone did that first, everyone else had to. Everyone else had to. Because imagine if someone's like, I have decided, you know, not to do this news announcement because, you know, in respect for events that are happening. And someone else doesn't do that and just goes ahead and has their events. And then people are like, oh my God, like, what's wrong with them? Why didn't they, are they not respectful? Do they not care? And so now they had to delay. And then someone else had to delay. And everyone, basically what happened is the moment one person decided to push back, and with the stated reason, because at this point, everyone else had to push back. That's why this happened. I'm sorry, but that is why this happened, because one company decided to do it, and therefore everyone else basically had to at that point. There might actually be people at these companies who actually give a damn. That is entirely likely. But the reason the company entities did this is because they had to. I'm not shaming. It's just weird to think about, given the circumstances. Oh, and I should say I'm very proud of a lot of you for successfully and accurately pointing out that I do my videos way in advance. I am actually pleased that my work habits are sufficiently well known that people could determine that without even having to be told. October, by the way. That's when I recorded the last batch of videos, was last October. I can get you an exact timestamp if you care. That's it for Loreweek. That's all I got, because all of the news that was supposed to be happening was delayed. Yes, I'm in the future as we speak. So, without further ado, let's chop off the local recording